She's a chart-topping producer, songwriter, instrumentalist, and a singer with the power and range to make any song her own. And along the way, she survived a rocky relationship with a singing partner, a bittersweet marriage to an R&B legend, and a frightening disease that nearly silenced her forever. Àngela Lisa Winbush was born in St. Louis, Missouri on January 18, 1955. While the area was a melting pot for musical styles, everything else was pretty segregated. Since she came up in the civil rights era, she has vivid memories of being bused to school and standing on picket lines at a very young age. While her father, a minister, and her mother, who worked for the government, separated when Àngela was just 3 years old, families still continued to be a positive influence in her life. Another positive influence for Àngela was church. Fun fact, the church that she grew up attending, the Temple Christ of Church, was founded by her maternal grandparents in 1918. It would be at church that everyone got to hear Àngela's amazing 4-octave range. She told Blues and Soul in 1987, "I sang in church from the time I could walk." Àngela's mother took notice of her gifts and signed her up for music and vocal lessons. Surprisingly, Àngela didn't have any intentions of pursuing a professional music career. So when she enrolled in Howard University in the early 70s, she majored in architecture. Yet, that didn't mean that she stopped singing altogether. As fate would have it, one day when she was singing in a practice room, she was overheard by gospel composer Richard Smallwood. He was completely blown away by how talented she was at such a young age. Àngela went on to sing with him at a local church and later became a member of his gospel choir. She also got together with 2 other women to form an R&B vocal trio called Hot Tea. They were so good they became local stars, as various artists would call them to sing background in studio or go on tour. Fun fact, one of the other members of Hot Tea was Tawatha Agee, who later joined the funk soul band Mtume. After graduating in 1977, Àngela recorded a demo tape. A New York DJ got a hold of it and played it for his friend, Stevie Wonder. Stevie then called Àngela and invited her out to Los Angeles to audition for his band, Wonderlove. Of course, the moment she opened her mouth, she was in. It was during marathon sessions with Stevie that Àngela began understanding the intricate, mostly male-dominated realm of the recording studio. Fun fact, that's Àngela on the far left, singing backup on Stevie's top 40 hit, As, from his album, Songs in the Key of Life. Around this time, while singing in an LA church choir, she met an organ player named Renee Moore, who'd built a reputation as a sideman with groups like the Brothers Johnson. They decided to team their efforts together and create one of the few duos in the business, Renee and Àngela. Capitol Records liked what they heard and signed them to the label in 1979. Renee and Àngela released their self-titled debut album in 1980, followed by Wall to Wall in 1982 and Rise in 1983. All 3 projects only did moderately well, but they were able to score 2 top 20 R&B hits, 1981's I Love You More and 1983's My First Love, the latter of which would become their signature ballad and an R&B classic. Fun fact, the duo originally wrote My First Love for Janet Jackson. After she passed on it, they decided to record it themselves. Actually, during Renee and Àngela's early years, the duo were asked to write and produce several songs for Janet's 1982 self-titled debut album. One of the songs, Young Love, became Janet's first top 10 R&B hit. In 1985, they penned a #1 hit with I Have Learned to Respect the Power of Love by Stephanie Mills. That same year, after several albums with Capitol, Renee and Àngela decided it was time for a change. So they signed to Mercury Records and released their breakthrough album, Street Called Desire. The project includes their first R&B #1 with the dance single, Save Your Love for #1, which contains guest vocals from label mate, rapper Curtis Blow, making it, besides Chaka Khan's I Feel For You, one of the first times a hip-hop artist collaborated with an R&B artist on their work. Other hit singles from the album on the R&B chart include I'll Be Good, which made it to #4, You Don't Have to Cry, which made it to #2, and another #1 called Your Smile. From your smile. Your smile. Fun fact, while some people may have assumed that Àngela was talking about a man in Your Smile, the song was actually written for her grandmother, who passed away during the recording of Street Called Desire. After 8 years and 4 albums, Renee and Àngela could finally say they made it. Unfortunately, behind the music, tensions that had been simmering for some time between the duo were now bubbling over. And apparently, your smile had a lot to do with it. According to Àngela, as she detailed in her TV One Unsung episode in 2010, it was the label's decision to use the demo version of the song, with only her vocals, as the final album version. René didn't like that at all. He even went as far as to accuse Àngela of wanting to do him like Chaka Khan did to her band, Rufus. Fun fact, René is the brother of Rufus bass player Bobby Watson. He apparently also had a problem with Àngela lending her songwriting and production skills to other artists. The biggest issue of all, though, as far as Àngela was concerned, was René's violent behavior. Allegedly, things reached the breaking point between the duo during a rehearsal for their tour. While they were on stage, they got into an argument. René then took Àngela off stage to a back room where he proceeded to put her in a chokehold. Even though a member of the band did say he heard her scream, only René and Àngela know what really happened that day. As if that wasn't bad enough, the last incident of René putting his hands on Àngela resulted in her suffering bruised ribs and a concussion. The label, of course, wanted them to continue to capitalize on their success and keep going. They even offered to provide bodyguards while they were in each other's presence while working on their next project. But Àngela was completely done. In an interview with both artists for the Los Angeles Times in 1988, they had very opposing accounts. Àngela stated, "The reality was that we didn't get along. Things went sour a long time ago. I didn't want people to know about that. I was trying to keep it quiet." As far as the tour rehearsal incident, René acknowledged that the two frequently argued, but denied striking her. "She's a better singer than I am, I will say that. But I did a lot of singing. I did a lot of the writing and producing. She just didn't do all she said she did. Now she's a prima donna, claiming she did everything. I did my share." The pair even disagreed over their personal relationship. Àngela said they dated when they first met, but René said their relationship has always been strictly business. Making a clean break from René wouldn't be an easy task for Àngela. He'd go on to file a series of lawsuits against her, mainly over songwriting credits, claiming he wrote all of their songs himself. The legal battle would go on for 7 years. In the end, Àngela retained 50% of the duo's songs and full ownership over those she created thereafter. In the meantime, she found herself fighting for her musical reputation, because René led the record company to believe that he did all the work, so they weren't even sure if they wanted to take a chance on her as a solo artist. To prove herself, she got her first production job on the Isley Brothers' 1987 album titled Smooth Sailing. The project would score a top 10 R&B hit with the title track and helped Àngela land herself a solo deal. She and Ronald, 13 years Àngela's senior, also decided to mix business with pleasure and embark on a long-term love affair. Soon after, Ronald became Àngela's manager. Since René and Àngela were no more, she was now pushed into a solo career that she never planned to have. Àngela's debut album, Sharp, dropped in 1987. It includes the hit Angel, which shot to number 1 on the R&B chart. Other notable hits include the dance track Run to Me, C'est Toi, It's You, and the Ronald Isley duet, Hello Beloved. Due to the project's success, Àngela was now in strong demand. She went on to write and produce for a variety of other artists, like Stephanie Mills, Sheena Easton, and Lalah Hathaway. In 1989, Àngela released her second solo album, The Real Thing. The title track rose to number 2 on the R&B chart, while subsequent hits, No More Tears, and another duet with Ronald, Lay Your Troubles Down, continued her top 40 success on the R&B charts. Sadly, her success would never cross over to pop audiences. On June 26, 1993, Àngela and Ronald married in Los Angeles. The couple exchanged wedding vows in a traditional ceremony before approximately 400 well-wishers. They would go on to have a daughter together. After moving on to a new label, Elektra, she released her third self-titled solo album in 1994. It features the hit Treat You Right, which peaked at number 6 on the R&B chart, making it Àngela's 9th top 10 R&B hit in total. Despite that accomplishment, the album stalled on the charts. Her first project for Elektra would end up being her last. Àngela had a lot of other things going for herself, though. She spent the latter half of the 90s focused on managing her company, producing for other artists, and enjoying life with her husband and daughter. One day, though, it dawned on her that she should get back to recording instead of pouring all of herself into Ronald and his career. Àngela's influence on various R&B and hip-hop artists is evident, as her music has been sampled by acts such as Jay-Z, the Notorious B.I.G., Foxy Brown, as well as Avant, and his re-recorded Renee and Angela ballad, My First Love, with Kiki Wyatt in 2000. Fun fact, in appreciation during Avant's performance of the song on BET's 106 & Park in 2001, Àngela surprised the audience by singing alongside him. At this time, Àngela's personal life began moving in a downward motion. In her unsung episode, she alluded to the fact that her husband had been unfaithful to her. Their finances were in shambles too, as the IRS was on their back about their taxes. She admitted that she wasn't getting the emotional support she needed and felt like she was in a marriage all by herself. In 2002, the couple quietly divorced. On her own again, Àngela was determined to rebuild her career as a recording artist and went on tour for the first time in a long time. However, while on tour, she received a shocking health diagnosis. She had stage 3 ovarian cancer. She headed back to St. Louis to undergo surgery, followed by 7 months of radical chemotherapy. Thankfully, her cancer went into remission, where it remains to this day. Àngela went on to use her platform to speak out and raise awareness about cancer and actively raise funds for ovarian cancer organizations. On June 26, 2022, she married for the second time to Timothy Polk. Today, Àngela is still performing flawlessly at age 69.
When you look up and you see the stars of St. Louis and your name is permanently up there, what's that say to you personally about the work that you've done?
Let the work I've done speak for me. And I wanted it to be honored, but I'm honored that it is relevant enough to have stood the test of time. That's all I can say, and thank God for my family and my upbringing, because my upbringing has made me who I am.